We're at the ARC Forum in Orlando, Florida, and I'm here with Dan Miller, Chief Architect and Director for AT&T's Energy Vertical. Hi, Dan.
Great to be back, Ralph.
Oh, thank you. So tell me a little bit about your role here at AT&T and what that involves within the energy sector.
So AT&T's shifting our focus in our client-facing organization, our sales organization, if you will. And historically, we've done account engagement at a geographic and account size level. As of last year, we're shifting to a vertical focus to do a couple of different things. One is to better align with our customers so that as time goes on and we gain expertise and synergies around understanding the verticals better, we can actually serve our customers better. You know, knowledge is power, and the more you understand how your companies and customers do business, I think you have a much better chance of aligning with their needs and developing services, solutions, and even approaches for that. So that's one big thing. The other is on a product standpoint, by being aligned with their verticals, working day in and day out inside the verticals and not being distracted by multiple different types of businesses, we have a chance to really understand from a product need, how do we need to evolve the way we approach the marketplace, right? So it's very much a trying to align ourselves to better serve our customers with very targeted verticals. And energy is one of the key initial verticals where we started out with our cornerstone account, which is Shell, where we outsourced their entire network, and then building off of that success to help understand where can we actually position AT&T services more broadly in the energy vertical over the next couple of years.
Neat. So focused on energy, I assume mostly that's around oil and gas. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Could you talk a little bit about the types of solutions that you would offer that industry?
Absolutely. So you're right. It's primarily around oil and gas, and starting with the super majors, obviously just because of the size and breadth they have, but also encompassing utilities in the U.S. as time goes on. So a couple to start, just to help make sure that we don't miss opportunities for synergies and alignment. So when we think about solutions that are really prevalent in oil and gas, it's really everything traditionally AT&T had to offer, but it's more targeted in how we approach them. What type of architectures do they need for their global networks? But when we think about emerging technologies, you know, this event's a perfect example where the buzzwords Internet of Things and cybersecurity and cloud, right? We're doing a lot of investigative work on how do we position these and enhance these solutions or even target these solutions. And so I'll touch on Internet of Things. It's a huge opportunity for us. AT&T's been in the news quite a bit lately for our connected car agreements with most of the big U.S. domestic and even global car manufacturers. When we get into oil and gas or utilities, there's very specific needs around architecture and security and equipment connectivity that are unique to the industry. So understanding I'd say the more generic aspect of Internet of Things, and then using specialists in this industry and people like myself who have spent a lot of time in the industry to say, what do we need to do to add to this to make it a very industry-specific Internet of Things approach, right? So that can be developing libraries of interfaces to common PLCs or RTU-type architectures, making sure we understand the different protocols that are spoken, because when our corporate guys think Internet of Things, they think, let's put a SIM card in everything. And that doesn't always make sense, right? So we have to say, we'll do it where we can do it, but in other cases, we have to think about Internet of Things as a holistic approach. Some will be connected with other technologies, and we just can't ignore that aspect of it because you know, a big oil and gas company has things scattered all over the world, and sometimes our network isn't there to serve them. So that brings me to another area where we're focused on a technology that is commonly referred to as field telecom. So AT&T has a great global footprint for our network. You know, U.S. is great from a wireless and wired network. Globally, we have business with the top global 1,000 companies. And as we think about how do we serve the oil and gas industry better, the requests come to us for unconventionals. Help me find networking connectivity in Nigeria. Help me find connectivity in Argentina, out in Patagonia. And even in northwestern Alberta, where there really aren't terrestrial networks. So we have to look at alternative connectivity technologies like microwave, like VSAT, dedicated fiber construction, and then building that network infrastructure and security around those technologies to make it seem like to the customer that that's just an extension of their AT&T network. Make it very easy for them to deploy. We bundle the solutions, and then things like Internet of Things fit within those networks. And as you get to these remote locations, you have to think about, well, if I have 20 well pads on a site, how do I take a VSAT feed or a microwave feed and distribute it? So we even look at things like wireless canopy to build out that local network beyond just the actual drop itself. So it's complicated. It takes a lot of people and a lot of work. Our team is about 1,400 people on the energy team that is doing nothing but focused on this area of the business for AT&T.
If I could ask a little bit about the Internet of Things, is it mainly a connectivity solution that you're providing? Or do you also get involved in communication protocols or maybe even the higher level application that actually uses the data?
So we've announced a lot of partnerships in this space. Obviously, AT&T is at its core a networking company with services layered on top of that. And I think as time goes on, you'll see us with some additional press releases. We've announced our M2X platform, which is a data warehousing and analytics platform that's in the cloud for clients to subscribe into. And then working with partnerships, we look at how do we take our connectivity and build the interface to devices that are proprietary protocols or industrial protocols that we really don't have the strength in. So we've announced some relationships with General Electric, Rockwell Automation, and Emerson that really extend our functionality and capability into their expertise, right? So we're very good at layer 2 connectivity. We're good at layer 3 from a security standpoint and some of the services on top. They bring the depth and expertise that we need for the industrial space and automation. And so that's a few of the examples, and we're working with most of the big providers of industrial process controls as well.
Neat, a lot of partners, connectivity, good IIoT strategy. You mentioned just briefly at the beginning, though, security, and that's another really hot topic at the forum in addition to IoT. Could you talk a little bit about what you offer around the security for these solutions?
Yeah, I think if you look back, AT&T was a pioneer of a lot of the security that's out there in the marketplace with our labs organization. So thinking about security, we think security first when we start architecting networks for our customers, whether it's wired or wireless, it doesn't matter. Inherent security is part of that consideration and part of that design process from the ground up. So everything from VPN type tunneling and IPsec tunneling in the network to network-based or even premise-based firewalls to make sure that as information is captured and transmitted, that there are security levels in place and architectures in place that don't allow for data leakage. And that's a huge aspect of the business for us. And it was interesting listening to one of the speakers in today's forum talk about if somebody comes to you to a customer and says, I have a solution that helps you solve the security methodology, I wouldn't necessarily turn those people away. I'd ask for more information and understand where they fit and how they play in that space, because there's a lot of companies focused on security right now. There are security products and there are security services. And I think if you try to look at it from an end-to-end capability, what we're trying to do is fully end-to-end managed security, right? And it starts with security in the cloud and in the network. And that's really one of our core strengths is putting those security functions in the network and in the cloud so that they don't impact the network performance. A lot of companies don't see the value in that. But when you talk about companies that are doing more and more over their wide area networks and capacity becomes a concern, it gets more and more expensive to keep opening the pipes up wider and wider, that's great for us. Bring us the request for increased bandwidth, or let us put security in the cloud and in the network so that it doesn't impact your local area networks because you're not trying to build all your firewalls at the local edge. I mean, so it's a different architecture, but it's much more progressive.
Wow. So you mentioned that you were focused on the energy sector. That implies some deep domain knowledge around that particular industry that gets developed over time. Is there some specific types of solutions, or how does this security and IoT, how is it specific to the energy department, energy industry, rather than all industries in general?
I wouldn't say it's specific, because at the end of the day, if you compare a bank to an energy company and you look at their list of security requirements, they really match up very well. It's how you position that model, right? So the concerns that an energy company about data leakage and foreign threats and even employees that are disgruntled, right? Those are security threats you may not see in the banking industry that's worried about hackers and customer privacy and customer information. But a lot of those information, the way you protect is the same way, right? So what we do is we look at kind of the generic security solutions and Internet of Things, but then build specific approaches to those customers that meet their actual needs in the industry, right? So a bank has very consumer, they have ATMs, they have PCs. In the industrial space, you have PLCs and RTUs, and so you have to understand how that equipment performs and just make sure your architecture matches the need. But at the end of the day, Internet of Things, there's a lot of commonalities across the industries.
So I get a message that's around Internet of Things, security, a deep domain knowledge about the energy sector, particularly when you mention RTUs and PLCs and DCS systems and stuff like that, knowing how to work with those systems. Sounds like you have a fairly robust offering for that energy sector. Very good. I congratulate you on your new role and your success.
Thank you.
We've been speaking with Dan Miller of AT&T at the ARC Forum here around his expertise and his group's expertise in the energy sector. Thank you for listening.